Record. I'm gonna record for funsies. Choose virtual background. And don't have one. Yesterday was Jaws 3D. Eventually
Well,
we
you
get to
know what?
Jaws 4.
This is my account that I use for work, so I bet you I do have some interesting background. I have one that looks like I'm actually at work. Like I
I
took it at work of the
wonder
window
if
behind my
wonder
desk.
if I can get a good wallpaper of the all the wax dummies in here. Let's find out. Yeah, see, that Jaws one you just saw at first, I found one where it made it look like you were sitting on the boat and Jaws was attacking. But it was just too low res, so I couldn't use it, which was a
All
bummer.
right.
New exhibit, Twilight Zone. See what we get. I mean, I throw them on YouTube, so I guess it's not completely unworth a background. Okay, I think I got a good one. Yeah, if this works. Save image as. Oh yeah, we haven't done this for web EBP file. I hate it when that happens.
Right?
Let's try a different one. That one looks lower res. Yeah, that one's way too low res. Okay. What exactly is that? Is that just like a screw you, you're not using our image sort of format?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. But you know, all you do now is you can copy that into there's a probably
Sure
a number
there's a
of
way.
different
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way around it, but when,
you just have to
especially when
convert it to JPEG,
working this real time.
something or such.
Let's see what happens. I've never done a podcast um like on YouTube, and that doesn't make sense to me. That does not compute for me.
YouTube?
Yeah, some people do podcasts on YouTube.
Because YouTube Live is super easy to use.
Oh yeah,
But
maybe that's I don't like that pick too
Zoom
much.
is when I recorded a podcast, I first used Zencaster because it would split the tracks like of everybody who was on.
Mm.
So you could adjust everyone's volume when you
Yeah, that's
did your
kind of
final.
I mean Zoom will balance how you can compress a little bit, but I was listening to like last week's podcast 1999. I was like, it's probably not the best balance here, but whatever.
Yeah, I was producing that podcast for USA Today. So, it had to pass muster
Oh
and I
yeah,
was
yeah, 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 yeah. Obviously, I being the only guy working on this, I can't. You know, don't have time to spit and polish it too much.
no, unless you're being paid to, I suggest
Right,
don't.
exactly. Right, exactly. What's the point?
Yep.
Um, yeah, oh well. I'm not gonna fix that image now. That's too bad. Yeah, that does suck. It's just like there's a perfect one, and no, you can't use it easily, at least.
Most
Um,
people I know just now they'll just screenshot it, make their own.
yeah, I guess you could do that. Anyway, but the point is I'm being too lazy to do any of those things.
All right.
Because we're gonna start this in a minute or two. Before that, actually, um, I could read off some movie names if there's anything in Films and Filth you are interested in, because I don't think you're listed for anything in the notable future. Well, actually, you're listed for nothing at this point, I think. So,
Good.
I'll read off some names, and I guess you can tell me your interest level. One is not interested. Five is kind of is like, fuck you, I want that movie. Uh, there's Spy Kids 4. Uh,
No,
Capernaum. I don't know what that is.
no, I don't either.
The Lives of. I guess I should just read the bad ones that are available for you, shouldn't
Yeah,
I?
do me the bad ones. That's the only ones I want to do.
Yeah, if I see a good one that really speaks to you, I'll mention. Smolensk.
I don't know what that is.
I don't either. Um, let's see. Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I think the video game guys are gonna want to. Oh, so here's
Probably
one you
yes.
want. Barbed Wire.
Oh, I love barbed
Okay,
wire.
you're on for Barbed Wire
Thank
then.
you. Yeah, I have the Blu-ray and the DVD of barbed wire. I love that movie.
Yeah, because I'm hoping to find like a theme park nut job for Three Ninjas. Nut job in a good way, of course. And Mortal Kombat Annihilation, I gotta leave that to the video game guys, you know?
Yeah,
A
yeah.
Far Cry. Is that based on a game?
Maybe,
I'm gonna check. Because isn't that a space game or something?
maybe.
Far
I haven't seen the
Cry.
movie though.
It is a game series. I don't know about the movie though. Wow, I feel like a gamer. I called it correctly. Okay.
Hmm.
Uh, just there it is as a film, loosely adapted from the video. It's a bowl. It's a Uwe bowl, but it is a game one, so I tend to leave the game ones to the game guys, I guess.
The bull. Okay.
Hercules in New York, which I know Luke's gonna go nuts over it. I think he could probably do that one. I don't know how you feel about that. Oh no, you want the next? You want Daddy Day Camp? I know that.
Yes, I do.
See, why am I even asking you? I can just put your name on these. Uh, Police Academy Mission to Moscow must. That I don't know if how strongly that hits.
That might be Mark might want that.
Mark's a regular.
Oh, right, right.
Anyway, that's 2 weeks later, so maybe Bratz, the movie. I feel
I'd
like
watch that. I've never seen it.
okay, the one after that though is The Master of Disguise. So
Oh, Dana Carvey?
yeah, okay, let's do
Yes.
that. Because yeah, SNL, you're an SNL guy, so of course.
Well, that Master of Disguise is pretty racist, but when it's not racist, it's hilarious. Or maybe it's hilarious because of how racist it is. I don't know.
Gun Day,
I haven't heard of that.
Breach 2020,
Mm-mm.
Laxmill.
Yeah,
Okay, here's what I'm not even gonna ask. I'm just gonna stick your name on it. After I stick your name, I'll read you the title. That's Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation.
my favorite one. Did
Yeah,
you see that video stack I made when I was going through my filthy films?
I think I know I've seen a picture of you with that, so
Okay,
I
because
did
I
see
had
that
like a
picture. Yeah.
whole, I had a whole bunch of them, like ones we haven't even talked about yet. So that was in the stack.
Mm. Scary Movie 5. I don't know if that's an
Yes,
appeals. It
I
is
have
a
that.
okay. I mean, you want it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I have Scary Movie 5. I have that whole
I
series.
think I've only seen the first one. What is Tees Marcon? I guess that's an Indian one. Student of the Year too. Anyway, that gets us to like a while
Yeah,
from now. So, um, oh,
yeah, Texas Chainsaw. Got to be
John
number one.
Champion's on for Spice World, but we do need a fifth so we can all compare ourselves to different Spice Girls. Which one of us is scary, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for somebody, man, let me at it.
I kind of mentioned it to Brian, who you've heard here, and maybe if you
Mhm.
listen to the podcast 1999, he seemed
Hey, well,
mild. He didn't seem like wow, yeah, where I feel like you're more like maybe wow, yeah
I
on the
went to
Spice
see
Girls.
it on opening day.
I didn't with you though. I think I went with my dormitory hall to see that. Also opening day. I think that's when we did not go because that's when we were going to a lot of movies
Yeah, I
together.
guess
But
so, huh?
but I think we did not do that one together. Okay. Um,
Yeah, I was the only I it was all like it was like moms and groups of kids, girls, and then me in the back row. I felt really creepy.
yeah, see, that's why I was like, okay, my freshman dorm hall, we're all gonna see. I got them. I think I was the one that got them riled up to go see Spice World, you know. So,
Well, I mean,
but
it's great.
but you got like 6, 7, 8 of us. I don't remember, but that's enough where you don't care if there's a bunch of little girls in the theater, right?
No, I mean it doesn't like make you feel as awkward.
Mm.
Whereas because y'all could have been going to see it like as a goof, but
It
with
was
me,
partly. Oh, no, I think people legitimately Spice Girls are weird because it's like, well, Wannabe's fucking annoying, but the other, it's not a bad song, it's just an annoying song. And then there are actually a few good songs on there, you know?
there are but the movie I thought was solid. There's too many people from Rocky Horror in it for it not to be great.
No, I have not seen it since opening weekend, so that's one
Oh
I'm like
no.
super looking forward to watching again.
That
Um,
was one of the ones that my kid was curious about when she was younger, and I'm like, well, yeah, we can watch it, but something about it didn't really grab her. I think she couldn't understand what they were saying.
so I'm just making sure there's nothing on the good list that really sticks out that I should read to you.
Yeah,
There's
Texas
Old Boy, but
Chainsaw.
I think Mark is obsessed with Old Boy, so I might leave the guest to him.
Well, the
But you
old
don't,
boy's
yeah,
not a
you don't want to be on a good one. I get that.
no, not really.
You want to be the dumpster man, dumpster
Well,
man.
well, I mean, you could throw a rock and hit a podcast that praises Old Boy,
Hmm?
but
Oh, yeah, yeah.
but
Oh,
you
Jaws
know,
is still there. I thought I got rid of Jaws. Sorry, I wasn't looking at my screen for a while. No, I like this picture. It's concept art for the ride, apparently.
wow, I was just at Universal for our anniversary.
But they don't got no Jaws no more.
No, it's true they don't. Well, the Universal Florida doesn't have Jaws.
I think just Japan has Jaws, weirdly enough.
Hmm.
I don't think they have it at uh, uh, I don't know about somewhere like Singapore. I think they have one in Shanghai or something. I don't know about those
Yeah.
Universals, but yeah,
Well,
I
they
know
definitely
I haven't
had
been to
King Kong.
Universal since '95, I think, and I've never been to Islands of Adventure.
It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I'm
Like
sure it is. Like it's
you
just
would love it.
I
You
just
would love
fell firmly into, going to Disney, I guess for whatever reason. And then, in Japan, I live way closer to Disney than Universal. So,
it.
Luke's single. He runs around with a few more bucks. So I think he's been to USJ, which is Universal Studios Japan, like twice. Because they got all
Okay.
the Mario stuff, right? He can go get a picture with
Oh,
Princess
right.
Peach.
Yeah. He would have to go to.
Which Florida will in the Epic Universal, I believe, is gonna have all the Mario stuff.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. It's just not there yet.
right, right. But yeah, and Universal just got way into the screen rides, which made me like not interested, I'm not a
Well,
big fan of the screen
I
rides.
thought that the whole, because they've got this King Kong Skull Island thing, and it's like that with the screens. However, at the end, they've still got the giant animatronic
Right,
King
right. But
Kong.
compare that to Confrontation, where they had that
Nope, you
crazy
cannot
set
even
of
compare it to
70s
that.
New York, the full, like
Yeah.
what, two full-size Kongs, one of which is shaking your tram. I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
there were two because there was one that was like the full body and then the one that was just the head.
Because
Uh,
we went to Disney Sea a few months ago, and the only screen ride is Soarin' at Disney Sea.
hmm,
Um, Yeah, well, there's a Nemo one. We didn't do it. I did it like when it was a different ride before it wasn't Nemo, but that one, I mean, it's like a simulator. You're in a theater, they have a screen. That's the kind of thing. But that's not a screen ride though. Soarin', of course, is a screen ride. But yeah, everything else is practical. I mean, okay, Toy Story Mania is good because that's a screen ride that doesn't feel like a screen ride. Have you done Toy
yeah.
Story Mania?
No, see, we just went to Islands of Adventure this time, and it wasn't around when went back in '99. But Spider-Man is screen ride. Harry Potter's like half and half.
Yeah, but Spider-Man has a bunch of practical stuff, which is nice, I think. So maybe
At
that
least,
would,
yeah. Harry Potter has a ton. Their dragon that breathes fire, gigantic animatronic, is practical. They're huge spiders, practical, and the death ghost looking. I don't know. Julie knew
yeah.
what it all was. I didn't.
But yeah, I'm even more than movies when I'm on a theme park ride. I really do want some practical. Toy Story
Hmm.
Mania, they got like some practical stuff between the screens, and just the way you move around is like insane, and you can't get your sense of direction. Then it's like now you're playing another game, so it
Yeah.
it,
Oh
it
God.
kind of overcomes the screen ride thing. Although I had to play by myself because there were three of us, so maybe I should here. I shot this picture in the Toy Story line. So I'm not in a rush. If you're in a rush, please tell me, and I'll not sit here
No, I
talking
thought. I
right
mean, I
now.
forgot it was summer there. You don't have to be right.
I no, it's what day of the week it is. I don't need to leave the house till like 11:30,
Okay.
and it's
No,
currently
it's.
8:46.
I
So
have nothing else going on. Like, there's this midnight screening I'm going to, but
yeah.
we'll be done way before
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, and we will not be doing this all the way 11:30. I did have to end my Atlantis podcast early because it had gone 3 hours, and I'm like, oh shit, I actually need to go to work now.
Whoa.
Well, we were talking to the conspiracy guy from those conspiracy guys, and his podcast will run like 6 hours
Mm.
on.
Do you know that before you talk to him?
Yes, I did know that before I talked to him. So at the beginning, I was like, I got 3 hours, guys. I mean, but yeah, I was like, we won't really go on that long. I'm like, oh shit,
But you did.
could go on for 6 hours. Um, Here we go. This is how I rode Toy Story Mania. If you can see the image, can you see that?
Well, you'll.
You know what I'll do?
Yeah,
I'll just
I
send it
saw
to
it a
you.
bit.
Okay,
It's
I'll
kind of.
send it to your Facebook. Actually, that makes more
Yeah,
sense.
send that.
Anyway, you'll see. As we know, at the end of Toy Story 3, Jesse and Buzz become a couple, right?
That's the one I've watched only once.
Okay. Well, then I'm
I've seen
telling you
four
at
the
the end.
most.
Really, I like 4 a lot, but that's an interesting take.
That was Lena's favorite, so that was the only one she wanted to watch. She was really into that one.
Okay,
That's
here
why.
if you so why I took this picture, I thought it was funny because it's got Woody and Jesse happily playing the games together on one side of the vehicle, and on the other side of the vehicle, you've got a dejected looking Buzz shooting one blue ball. Like he's getting cocked, right? And then of course Luke and Mercy are a couple, so I got on the side that by myself. So I was like, "Oh, I'm the Buzz now." Not
Right?
that I was trying to horn. I'm not that I was trying to horn in on their relationship or anything, but it's like, "Oh, I'm by myself." So then when I took my score at the end, it's got my score and like 0 on the other one. Anyway, I thought that was a really funny piece
And
of. All right.
It is.
It's just you stand the line long enough, you start staring at this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because it had
Yeah. Well,
I think that was like an hour line, and the outdoor part's really boring. The indoor part's pretty cool. It's like it's supposed to be like you're tiny and it's Andy's room. The scale does not work completely, but it's still a cool idea. So when you're getting on the
yeah.
ride, it's like you're getting on the vehicle like under his bed or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. Um, let's see. Oh, can you bring up in a tab or something the wiki page for the new exhibit?
Yeah.
Zoom
Yeah.
is just like freaking unpredictable with
Yeah. We don't have to.
whiteboards now. So
It's
Sinescu. Am I saying it right?
an SQ.
Sinescu.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna start doing
Okay.
this.
So opening narration. There it is.
Okay. Okay. If you got it, that's good. Because yeah,
I do.
I've had the last few like like they'll change it and then they'll say you can use classic again and then no you can and then up when you come back it's gone and I'm just like okay, Zoom whiteboards
Weird.
is getting fired. No,
Yeah.
I'm doing a class today. Well, the big problem is I filled in for a few where I actually need to type and like please repeat blah blah that sort of stuff. And it's just like I'm trying to type in it like just stops and then I have to erase start over so I'm like screaming at the computer while trying to teach.
Holy shit. I hope
Yeah.
someone learned something.
And 2 years ago it worked perfectly. So what's
Hmm.
what's the fucking deal?
Yeah.
It worked great 2 years ago.
Crappy.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, with all this, one thing will update, but the other thing doesn't,
And
it's like,
suddenly whatever device you're using just it's never going to work on it again. That's what was happening to my podcast late last year, early this year. Zoom had just like outgrown my old computer, I guess.
that, yeah,
Plus, I
that,
had those crappy connections. So, new mic, new computer. I don't have those problems anymore. Now I should just talk closer to the mic so it sounds better. But I'm
what,
back here
how
and
am
it's
I,
echoey.
like,
You're
how am
fine.
I coming out though? I'm
You're
good.
fine. Just out of curiosity, what are you talking into?
Uh,
What you talking
this,
into? Oh, okay. I guess I have the one. I have the Yeti one, but yeah, blue.
okay, this, I stole from the newspaper, like, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago.
You just put that on. You just admitted that on at least the Patreon episode.
I don't care. I mean, they bought podcast equipment, but, none of it was portable. And I'm like, yo, I don't want to come here every time I'm doing a podcast, you know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying? So
Yeah, I
we
get
have a
it.
whole studio, but I don't.
It was funny. We were recording a week or two ago, and we had to stop within 3 minutes because Mark was like, "Oh crap, I shouldn't have said that on a recorded conversation." So I was like, "Oh, I'll stop and start over." We're only like 3 minutes in.
Oh, was that about his side business with the methamphetamine and whatnot?
Yeah, that's right.
Oops, did I just say that?
But what else is new? Yeah, yeah, I do. The basics is fucking fun. I do recommend that.
Yeah.
Um, although I will say I haven't found so much space like where I would use it for recording yet. Because if you're recording, it's like, well, I mean, I don't know. It has an interesting tone. I have used on one track just because it was like closer than the other basses.
Yeah.
But as far as like
Well,
playing at night, just like jamming with shit, it's fun as shit. Because you
I was
could.
gonna say I'm super fascinated by it. And I went over to Musician's Warehouse and they didn't have one.
Really? Okay, because it
Because
said
I
it was
just
like
wanted
the
to,
top selling bass of the year last year or something. I
I
don't
don't
know
know,
that.
maybe
I
they
don't know what
just,
the veracity of the article I saw that said that was, but
yeah, it might be. Yeah, but as soon as you showed me that, I was like, I gotta play this thing,
and yeah, I
So
got the Squire one, which is it's fine. I mean, I got the three Mexican Fenders here too, and it's built as well as those because the Squire Jazzmaster I used to have, it was really good, but you could see where a few corners were cut. Like some of the
well,
switches weren't so great. Where the switches on this are like perfect. The pots work fine. It seems
I was gonna
solid.
say I bought that bass that was like, I don't know, $75, whatever it was, but I took it over to them and had them just, I mean, some of the adjustments I've done it so much I can just do it myself, but I had them file down the fretboard and things like that.
And actually, I haven't had trouble with the basics as far as setup because I did read some people saying like what you have to set it up, but it
Mhm.
was fine when I got it. The Jaguar I have in contrast is extremely fussy, and I'm always kind of like trying to reset it up a bit. Like when I got the bass six, I noticed how much higher the bridge was. So, oh, maybe I should make the Jaguar higher. And then I realized I was playing with like the most ridiculous action ever. Because I'm a
Yeah,
cello player, it kind of made sense, right? But it's like, I gotta
right.
lower this action again. This is stupid.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah, no,
point of it
that
is to be short scale and slinky, so I shouldn't be having to like. I mean, it was like not. Oh, I guess it's still in millimeters, but it was supposed to be like what 8 millimeters, and it was like probably 20.
shit.
Like once you got to the top of the neck, it was like 20 centimeters or
No, that
something
I
insane.
think you're looking for a wrist injury at that point,
Well, not as a cello player, but
or repeat motion injury, whatever they call it.
yeah. But yes, do recommend. The Squire ones are built well. I mean, if you wanted to go in for a Fender, I guess you could, but
No, I
because
have my eye on.
you're
There
saying
was what the
surf green
last.
or something, mint green
Yeah, the
surf.
last time you and I messaged about it, I
Is
pretty
that a
much had.
Squire? I
If
don't
it's
think that.
not, that's
I think you're looking at a Fender because I think
was I?
I think Squire only makes the tobacco sunburst in the in black. And of
Oh
course I got
shit.
the tobacco sunburst one because that was the one that was cheap. Because
Yeah.
they usually go for 70,000 yen and it just suddenly dropped to like 48,000 yen. And then I use my American credit card, so it comes out as like $320. And if you've seen online, they sell like 385 on American sites. So I got
Yeah.
like no matter what way you look at it, I got like a hell of a deal on that one. So,
Yeah, that's not the price that I was looking at. So I think I was looking at a Fender.
oh yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. You can get this guy for 500 or less. So,
yeah, okay. That I really
and
like that.
like I said, at least that's a Mexican Fender too, isn't it? That one's a Mexican Fender. So, as I said, the Squire, unless you just worry, don't like what it says on the headstock, I don't
No,
think it has any
um,
quality loss up alongside the Fenders.
no, because my the one I played with most was a I don't even remember now, Born to Please. I think it was a Jazz, the white one, and it was a Mexican Fender
Right.
that came from Mars Music back in the day.
And yeah, in the past 5 years or so, the Mexican Fenders really like stepped up in quality where sometimes they're better than the American ones these days. My
Um,
Stratocaster, I can't see a difference between that and an American one, basically.
yeah, no, they that Jazz. Oh, what was wrong with it? I couldn't get it. I felt like the E wasn't loud enough for me.
Uh, my main bass is the Duff bass, like from the 80s, like an actual one from the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Because they make them now, but mine isn't quite as collectible because Duff's has the black neck and
Uh-huh.
head guard, whereas mine is just plain maple. I
Right.
don't care. And there's one little, it has an extra switch. It's a PJ, I guess that's what they call it. Yeah, it's got but there's an extra tone switch that the Duff one has that mine does not have, but I do not
Okay.
need it. So,
I was gonna
and I,
say what was it even for?
and it's got a jazz bass special because it's got a jazz bass neck, but then it has a precision body, just to be really fucking confusing. But I basically
Ah.
keep it dialed to the precision pickup with like the tone like almost
Mhm.
all the way down, for because I want like that Motown thump as much as possible.
Yeah, see, that was my only issue. Born to Please was a rock band, but I was essentially playing, a jazz instrument because I was
A
always using
jazz
those.
bass is not a jazz instrument.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like I had those strings that weren't the rock strings. They were
Oh,
like
flat
little,
wounds.
yeah, the flats.
I put those
And
on
I
my
loved it.
Hofner. I should put those on the bass six. I've heard flat wounds on the bass six because I put flat wounds on the Jaguar because Jaguars were actually made specifically for flat
Yeah.
wound. So it does like it's buzzier and weirder with round wounds. But yeah, I do want
Just
to put flat. The Hofner bass I have. I put the ones I saw in the Get Back movie. I put those. I did research, found out what they are, and put them on my Hofner. Just like
yeah,
the Jacko bass. I did research. What did Jacko put on his? So I was like, I will put
yeah,
those on this bass.
yeah, they were I loved playing it, but it wasn't bright enough, especially that low E. It wasn't bright enough for like rock music. And so I had to just basically get a beater for when we played live. And that was a an OLP, which was kind of like the really cheap version of Modulus.
Mm.
And that
I
did the
mean,
trick.
yeah. I think for me is I played bass for at least 10 years before I actually played something that resembled a decent bass. Because that thing I
Yeah.
played in Evergreen was an absolute piece of shit. And
Well,
then
that's like that was your first one though.
of
Like,
course, of course. I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, yeah. I could if I well, if I knew what I knew now, I would have gotten a much better deal on a much better bass. But you know, it's 13.
We were children.
Yeah. And then the one that we were passing around in Rocket number 9 was that Epiphone Les Paul, but it was pretty shit. Like it had dead spots and things. It wasn't a good bass. Um,
I didn't play that, right? I always brought my own, wasn't it?
yeah, when you were playing with us, you would have brought your own. This is what Devin and I would have passed among ourselves. Um,
Okay.
and then, yeah, when I moved to Japan, I got like a Japanese jazz bass, Aerodyne jazz bass, which I sold basically right after I got the Jacko bass. And yeah, I got that just a few years ago. For some reason, there were these like really low priced used Japanese basses. Like the Jacko one is made by History, but it's made in the same factory as the Fenders in Japan. And I looked it up, and when it was released, it was like $1,000 bass, you know? So I bought it for
Shit.
like $100. And then the
Wow.
Fender, the Duff bass was like 180. I'm like, what the fuck? It's a Fender, you know?
Mhm.
It says
Yeah.
Fender on it. So I don't know. I think they screwed that up at the store. I don't know. But okay, let's do an episode. Music talk. I don't get to gear talk much. So when I get the
Oh, I'm
with
always
you and
happy to.
with you and Mark, sometimes I just have to get into it because I no one around me and nobody I work with or hang out with wants to talk about any gear. So
Does Mark still play like guitar or bass, things like that?
I don't I don't yes and no, I guess.
Hmm.
Like I think he got to the point where he realizes he doesn't really need guitars and basses. Or
Yeah, that's what I
I've
thought.
been buying too many guitars and basses because I do like just sitting around playing them. Like I haven't recorded that, but I do have a shitload of music for you. But in real time, I haven't recorded that much recently, but I've been playing the shit out of my instruments, you know?
Well, that's what I do. I don't really record anything unless I need to do some, occasionally I have a friend come over and we'll do like a song like for the Zombie Bikini theme song.
Yeah.
We all got in here and made a little like our little band or whatever. But I think the main thing was as a kid, um, I couldn't afford to buy myself instruments really.
Well,
And
no,
now
none
I'm a
of
grown
us
up.
really could. Yeah, I'm doing it now because like it's like buying a
Exactly.
car when you're 45, right? I'm
Well,
buying
it's like
fucking
I can do it,
guitar.
right?
Yeah.
So let me do it.
Like I still like, oh, I'd love to get one of those like Epiphone master built Frontiers, you know, but I'm like, I really
Yeah.
don't need it. So what I'll probably
No.
do is at some point, well, the Gibson I got's like the entry Gibson, so maybe at some point I'll upgrade to a nicer Gibson or not. I mean, if I compare them side by side, mine sounds better. I'll just stick with it, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. My studio Les Paul that I had when I was like 16, it remains the best sounding electric guitar that as far as what I like to play, like what I feel like is my sound, nothing else has been able to get that for me. And
Yeah.
so,
I got a really good Les Paul for me because it's a flat top Les Paul. Because
right.
I don't one of the things I hate the most about playing a Les Paul is the curve. But
Oh
mine's
yeah.
flat, so no
Okay.
problem. Because I tend to anchor my palm on the guitar, like
Oh, okay. Yeah,
yeah.
see, I don't do that. It's all shoulder for me
Oh no
most.
no, I'm totally anchored when I play, like yeah, because I do a lot of finger picking and like I'll hold the
Right.
pick and then finger pick with the smaller fingers a lot.
Okay, yeah.
So Les Paul's really sucks for that, but mine's fine for that. It's great for that. So which apparently is what Les Paul wanted from the original, but they didn't want to do that because it seemed like cheaper. You know, they wanted it to seem classier. So they're like,
I was
okay,
gonna
arch
say
top.
if I get anything other than I mean I have a couple, but like other than the Les Paul, I would get probably an SG,
Oh
just
yeah,
a
yeah.
lighter have a lighter weight instrument.
Yeah, see, I don't care because I don't play live, so it doesn't. Also, my Les Paul's lighter. It's slightly thinner, and it does have a belly cut, but it doesn't have a chamber. So
Okay.
I feel
Okay.
like it's kind of a sweet spot, and it's got like the real. It's got the what the double A maple top, so it looks cool, pretty cool. Beat up to shit, but when you buy a used guitar, sometimes you should buy the one that's beat up to shit because that means someone played it, you
Yeah,
know?
it's somebody played it and it works. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and now for something completely different, we'll plow into this episode.
Okay.
Welcome to Time Enough Podcast. It's where we dive into every episode of The Twilight Zone and beyond. As is every week true, this is Matt here. A new exhibit to season 4 of The Twilight Zone. It's Andrew. You're only
What's up,
season
everybody?
4 because, yeah, you only made the one request.
I'll tell you why, man. It has to do with it's not that I dislike the longer format episodes. It's more for me just like my favorite way to consume Twilight Zone is not watching the season all the way through, but just doing my own like I don't know,
Picking and
like
choosing.
almost if you yeah, yeah, kind of pick and choose and I like making my own marathon since there's, I don't have TV. I haven't had TV since the early aughts, and so it's like when I want to do my own Twilight Zone marathon, I just skip around and play whatever I feel like playing next, almost like a DJ would, at a party or something, the nerdiest party ever made. But as such, I don't tend to play the longer ones just because they're twice as long or even more. But the the new exhibit, I just have so I have so much childhood trauma related to wax figures and mannequins and things like that. I just think the whole thing rocks, and there's a lot to it.
So you couldn't
And
stay away
so,
from the trauma. Okay.
yeah, a little bit.
You're always coming in for the trauma episodes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've said it before on the podcast, but that's kind of the point of me starting this podcast. I'm like, okay, I got this Blu-ray set. I actually want to watch every one of these, and
Yeah.
the only way I'm going to do it is committing myself to this and doing it this way. So, hey,
Yeah, but
most of the way
you're
through season
really
3, 4 now, so it
yeah.
worked.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I like talking about Twilight Zone with other people because that's you would think it would be a thing that a lot of people have seen, but maybe it's just because my friends tend to be younger than me, but if I'm not talking to you guys about Twilight Zone, there's really nobody nobody I know that's like into it like this.
And also getting into and talking about it, it's like there's been several episodes of the podcast where it's like, wait a minute, did we watch completely different episodes? Because we just
Mm.
got completely, who knows? Maybe that'll happen here. We'll see. Um,
Yeah, and it's also like they're the ingredients for like a generation at least of filmmakers, that went on to make a lot of movies that we ended up seeing and didn't know
yeah,
were
a few
influenced.
weeks ago we watched No Time Like the Past, and we're like, is
Hmm.
this the first run of Back to the Future 3?
Hmm. Hmm. So that I don't know. When I tell people that I am a semi-frequent guest on a podcast about the Twilight Zone, everyone thinks that's really cool.
Okay, good, good. Maybe I can be cool by being an every week not guest on the show. Um, let me do some trivia on the new exhibit. Original air date was April 4th, 1963. John Bram directed. This is the 10th of 12 Twilight Zone episodes he did, and his only one for season 4. Jerry Soule wrote the episode, but that is not the name you see on the screen. This is the point where Charles Beaumont's episodes are fully ghost-written due to Beaumont's health decline, which was its own Twilight Zone episode, for better or for worse. Well, for worse, because it was real life.
Yes.
Martin Balsam returns to the zone as Martin Lombard Sinescu. Sinescu. Sorry, I'm gonna start doing a ADTV, which is what Andrew and I did as kids, where I would
Oh
do
my God.
offensive French accents for a
Oh,
camcorder.
no, don't. That's you want to sidebar every time I describe that to people, they burst into laughter. You, I don't remember who came up with the idea of any of that.
And we were just
But
like, screw it. The guy's name is Gerard Depardieu.
well, of course, we didn't know what a monster he'd become.
No, we didn't. But the fact that we're like, we're not. I think eventually we had to find like a different. I mean, just for our own sanity, we had to find like a different name, so we weren't. It felt too unoriginal, right? So.
Yeah, but then we just put all sorts of accent marks on it. Like his name was full of them. It looked like I don't know what, like it was covered in noodles.
Anyway, let me do that again. No edit. I'm
Okay.
just going to do it again. Martin
Okay.
Balsam returns to his own as Martin Lombard Sinescu. I'm still going to do that though. He had appeared in the 16 millimeter Shrine and the Proto Zone Desilu Playhouse episode, The Time Element. We hit his trivia in our podcast on those, and his career is too epic to cover again. Okay, I get here. This one doesn't have anything. Mr. Ferguson was Will Kaluva. He previously appeared in Twilight Zone's The Mirror and appeared in films such as Viva Zapata and Go Naked in the World. Maggie Mahoney was Emma Sinescu. Okay, yeah. Her real name was Margaret Field, and she was Sally's mother. Maggie appeared in 50s sci-fi flicks like The Man from Planet X and Captive Women, which I did have to check because I've seen that title and it's always like that must be like a great women in prison movie. And no, it's not. It's
Mhm.
a post-apocalyptic sci-fi. Didn't know.
Yep.
Dave was played by William Mims. Well, this is his only appearance in the zone. He was all over television and guest spots from the 60s through the 80s and appeared in films like The Day Mars Invaded Earth and Hot Rods to Hell. He will be back in Serling's Orbit and Night Gallery. Our wax murderers were played by Milton Parsons as Henry Desiree Landru. Landru. I give that the Star Trek tilt. David
Right.
Bond as Jack the Ripper. Billy Beck as William Hare. And Bob Mitchell as Albert W. Hicks. I ain't going to trivialize all those guys. It's too many. But I did feel
Yeah.
I had to list them, because they're basically the monster of the episode. Or
Yes,
are
they are.
they? Um, oh
All
yeah,
right.
I have to ask you. I've never directly asked you. Do you watch that Star Trek episode with Landry and feel like a complex because it's like close to your name, but it sounds stupid?
You know what? I haven't, but I should because that comes up. I have friends with a few different people that love Trek. It's like Henrik does, and my friend Clara, who goes by Coquette du Jour in my movies, she does too. And so I've heard it from them enough times to where they seem like they expect that I've seen it, and so they joke, and I'm like, you guys, not everybody watches Star Trek like
Wait, you
you.
haven't seen the Landry episode?
Mm-mm, no.
Oh, this is Taste of Armageddon, and that is like top five original series.
Okay.
Highly
Okay.
recommend watching that, before your midnight screening even, or after your midnight screening. You stay up late.
I do, yeah.
Uh, could you give us a prologue?
Let's do this. All right, you ready? Martin Lombard Senescu, a gentleman, the dedicated curator of Murderers Row in Ferguson's Wax Museum. He ponders the reasons why ordinary men are driven to commit mass murder. What Mr. Senescu does not know is that the groundwork has already been laid for his own special kind of madness and torment found only in the Twilight Day.
Twilight what?
The Twilight Day.
Okay. I was like literally like what I couldn't work out what that word was going to be. I don't know.
Right.
So, in the past few weeks, there was an episode where I missed the William Castle trivia. There was an episode where I got the William Castle trivia, and I feel like this episode is like a wannabe, and I'm not insulting it by saying wannabe, but wannabe William Castle movie almost.
Well, I mean, you have, I mean, maybe not there. You have, well, yeah, because I'm thinking of Mr. Sardonicus, you
Because things are
know,
going to get a little gorier after 1963, right?
that's
Blood
true.
Feast is coming soon. Horror, I mean, by the end of the decade, where
You're
horror is
talking
now
about
like
H.G.
Rosemary's
Lewis, not William Castle,
Baby.
then.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I'm talking. I'm saying the new exhibit is not Lewis.
Yeah.
It's more Castle, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, yeah, it is, especially because you've got like a couple different shocks in there, not just with the murders, but with that well, as we go, there's some unreliable narrator going on, particularly when these, not to jump ahead, but when they start talking back to him, then you're going, okay, is he, because, you have so much, because this is one of the hour ones, they've got all this time to develop character. But Sinescu, to me, red flag city, nuts from the start.
Yeah, and to make this a movie, to make it a Castle exploitation film, you'd only need to add like 10 minutes to this. You could throw it in
Mhm.
a theater.
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. And in that regard, I think that may be one of the reasons why I like it so much. To me, this is like just a perfect horror story. I mean, you got a little bit of Edgar Allan Poe in there, as well. And so,
I guess
um,
I think of the Color Vincent Price ones for those. Those are the Corman ones. R.I.P. Corman. But yeah, I feel like that's a slightly different vibe because of the color. Because this is, fully entrenched in the black and white.
yeah, but I could see, oh, if we're gonna put Vincent Price in this, damn, I
I
don't know.
I don't think Vincent Price could take the Balsam role.
No, he couldn't because
Here's how
But
you put Vincent
honestly,
Price in it. He'd be Jack the Ripper, and he'd be
yes.
like telepathically talking to Martin Balsam. That's how you get Vincent. You
Yeah.
make him Jack the Ripper, make it a bigger role. He's still standing still because I mean, come on, Vincent Price can stand still real well. And then he's mentally,
Yeah,
communicating Dr. Five style, or not with
that's
the record player,
true.
but I guess telepathy. The record
I
player is cool though.
Not Dick Miller either, because then it's too close to Walter Paisley,
Hmm.
I think.
Anyway, Martin Balsam, perfect for this.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
they knew to bring him back for this in the correct part. Okay, here's where
yeah.
I am getting a Herschel Gordon Lewis note. I just wrote it might be the organ soundtrack, but I was getting Fuad Ramsey's vibes.
You know, I think since the last time we talked on this thing, I have had authentic Egyptian food.
Have I had Egyptian food? Okay, what did you have for your Egyptian? Did you like your Egyptian feast?
I did.
Okay.
But
Well,
at one point, because it was a friend of mine actually that owns a restaurant in Athens, and he was doing kind of this thing for a while where he was doing taste. They called it Taste the World lunches, and he was doing cuisine from just various countries, and it just so happened Egypt is part of his ethnic background, and so he did Egyptian food, and he gives me the plate, and I'm sitting down, I'm with my friends, and I realize none of them will get the reference, and it made me a little sad.
so
I was
was
like,
it
I'm
was it
finally having authentic Egyptian food. And I
were
can't tell
you
him.
were you eating the flesh of buxom young women?
I'm fairly certain that I wasn't, but
You never
it
really
is
know.
Athens.
The thing in Japan is, we famously the food is quite good. It's hard to go to a bad restaurant, but there's certain things you just can't get. Like Mexican's kind of hard to come by. If you want Greek food, give up. It's not
Mediterranean style.
you can do Turkish pretty easily, but not Greek, which is different.
Mm,
So
yes.
there are similarities, but they are different. So
Yeah, I
um,
remember you telling me like many years ago you couldn't get Mexican food, and I'm going like, I don't know if I could live with that.
we made old El Paso tacos last weekend.
Well, hey, that's something.
That's something. That's the best we can do. A taco rice. Okinawa does taco rice. So
Okay.
it's basically you're putting the taco on rice and then crumbling the chips on top, like Doritos or something. That's your shell.
That
Um,
would that would work for me, I think.
yeah. Anyway, it makes sense we're talking that's much about food because the museum is getting torn down for a supermarket.
Right.
I don't think I've ever been in a wax museum. No, I see you raising your hand there. I mean, I've been around wax, figures. I mean, just in museums. There's a natural history museum we've been to several times, not far from here, with some very creepy caveman figures and missing link figures. Um, what else do we got?
Didn't do Tussauds.
I've never done Tussauds. That's why I'm like sitting here like trying to work. I've been like the Ripley's museums in several places because when I'd end up in a tourist trap, I'd always make a beeline for the Ripley museums.
Yeah. Oh man, that might have been one of the ones that.
That's probably the closest to a wax figure museum I've been to. So yeah, Madame Tussauds is across the street when you're in like Gatlinburg, Tennessee. But I was like, I want to go to the Ripley Museum, and I don't. Since all of these are like way overpriced, I'm not going to more than like one or two of them. So Ripley's was always the one.
Yeah. Yeah, my pops just used to like to stop at weird, I mean, anything that was like on the way to what we were going to. He didn't care how late we got there. He was going to stop at any weird thing. And this was how I encountered well, I had an incident at a wax museum. And I want to say it was on the way to Daytona or something like that. So it was in Florida, so already, you got a couple of red flags speaking of there. Did I ever tell you what happened there at the Wax Museum?
If you did, it's been forgotten
This
by
happened before.
decades.
Okay, this happened before. Is this okay time to tell it?
Yeah, go for it.
It happened
It's an
before you
episode
and I
about
were
wax
friends.
museums.
Yeah. Um, it happened before you and I were friends. So I was under 10 years old. But I already didn't like it because I'm sure I've mentioned on one of the episodes before when it dealt with mannequins. I
After
told the
hours.
story about the mannequin um, in our house that was in the casket. So I already had a thing that happened before this. I was very unnerved by the wax museum. Didn't like it. Did not like it. And because they were like mannequins to me, you know. But a big difference here is this wax museum had a section of it that was actually like horror stuff. And I will not forget. I'm already going through it, like not wanting to look at everything. I'm holding my mom's hand. And then you hear this voice say, "You're now entering the haunted graveyard." And I was like, fuck this. I spun around and ran the other way. And I tried to find my way out of this wax museum that we'd been in. And I slammed hands first into the Babe Ruth that they had. Statue doesn't fall, head comes off, hits the floor.
Oh, sure, right. And were you here for the Mighty Casey? That seems like another trauma-inducing
Right?
one in that case.
Yeah. Who struck out there? Me or him? I don't know.
uh,
But that just really, yeah, I so that's the trauma there that
okay,
I'm bringing
I
to.
guess that's the closest I have to that is running out of Ghostbusters the first time we tried to go see it.
You ran out of the theater?
As soon as the librarian ghost, turns into
That's frightening.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Although we did go back a week later, somehow I convinced my dad that we should go see it again, or he dragged me into it again, and then I enjoyed Ghostbusters. But yeah, the
Sure.
first time, as soon as that librarian ghost went nuts, I was like, out of the theater, bye bye.
That is that is scary. What's funny is my daughter had me take her to Goosebumps when she was probably around maybe 6, something like
Mm.
that. You know, these Goosebumps movies are funny, but some parts are kind of scary. And she was like, "I need to go to the bathroom." And I'm like, "Okay, let's go." And then while we were out in the bathroom, we got out and she just starts like hanging around the hallway and just like talking about the posters. I'm like, "Are you too scared to go back in there?" So that was her technique.
No,
And you
I,
were just more forward
yeah,
about it.
yeah. So I don't quite know if I exited the theater waving my hands and screaming or just walked out or what, but
I could
that's
see you
not
just
part of the
walking out.
memory. Yeah.
It's like, peace. Enjoy the film. I'm out of here.
So yeah, I haven't done the actual wax museum. I mean, one of my nightmares would be like being in It's a Small World, not in a boat, like off to the side, and nobody else is in there and everything's running. I think that would creep me out.
Just the thought of it creeps me out, so absolutely, yes.
Yet Sinbad in Tokyo Disney, maybe I'd be okay with that one because I don't know, they're cuter or something. Ah, it'd still be creepy. Yeah, that's a
It
similar
is,
boat ride, but really awesome for anyone that happens to be in that area.
I mean, I know it's brought up a lot, but for good reason. The uncanny valley, it means that there is just the mind reaches a point of revulsion, I guess,
Yeah.
when it rejects something as not being human. And so you combine that with the fact that Sinescu is obsessed with the the murderers
I was gonna
section.
say he this is his horror room in 1963. You wouldn't have Freddy and Jason there. You would just have you'd have these guys, right? I mean,
Exactly.
maybe I mean I guess you could have like Dracula and Frankenstein room too, but this is
Yeah,
about the same
and
thing.
and if you like that, the movie Waxwork pretty much does that for you.
Right. Yeah, I was
Um,
gonna say there are other movies that definitely do this in the 80s. I don't know if
yeah.
Puppet Master goes along these lines or not because I haven't seen them since the 80s or
I would
whatever.
say more of I would go toward Waxwork, yeah. Because you've got House of Wax.
So I know you
Uh,
and I watched Waxwork in like 1990 or something, but
mhm.
any memory of that's like poof, gone.
Yeah, there
Like
was a part
what'd you
two.
post? You posted something a few days ago, and I was like, oh yeah, I know that. The Forbidden Zone-esque movie you said. Uh,
Oh, Dr. Caligari. We watched that.
oh right, right, and I forgot about that because obviously there's another movie with that name that you tend to remember better once you get into film history.
The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. This was a sequel,
But
but
yeah, when you posted, I was like, oh, that's probably one of the first times I saw some weird, surrealist horror was this weird remake, not the original.
that was it was more of a sequel. It was the main character is his daughter.
Yeah, I know I've
Um,
always brought it up before, but for some reason, popcorn keeps coming in my mind as just a bizarro,
mhm.
late 80s horror.
It is bizarre. It is. It definitely is. And it's kind of haunting because the guy
You
that
can't
plays
remember
Bruce.
anything about the movie other than it's weird.
Oh no, you'd enjoy it now if you watched it.
Okay. Um, yeah, it is funny. In Japan, sometimes people will be like, "I don't like that movie. Why? It's scary." It's like that's not really a reason, or they'll say it's a bad movie. Why? It's scary. So it's like, well, bad and scary, that those aren't mutually exclusive, you know?
Also,
They are mutually exclusive. Did I say that the wrong
if
way?
an action movie is exciting, does it make it bad?
Well, that's the thing. And this is usually a teenager saying this. I mean, there are teenagers like my daughter's like at least halfway into horror, so she would like
I
to
would
see the
say
scary
so
movie.
because of that Shining
Yeah, yeah.
connection there.
Right, right. So,
I will not forget that
but yeah, a
anytime
lot of
soon.
kids are just like, or it's like, what's your least favorite movie? And they'll say like this movie, and they're like, so why? Oh, it's scary. I'm like, that doesn't make it bad.
Well, but it
It
scared
could
them,
make them
so
not
maybe they
like it.
mean,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
you
maybe
could
they
not
mean
like it
bad in a
because it's
different
scary,
way.
but yeah, it's just a weird, like, I guess, like where the words mean something slightly different in Japanese, so it's like
Mhm.
sounds kind of weird when it's put into English.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is
yes,
in.
yes. I sorry, I knew there was something I wanted to think about. Dumb tourist traps. How many times did you end up hitting south of the border, the weird offensive one on the Carolina border? Ever hit that one?
Well, let's put it this way, like going to it when you're younger as opposed to now, like I won't go in it now.
Oh, well, no, no. It is a beacon of I don't know, I would go there just because it's so weird and chintzy. I think I'd still stop.
Oh God. I
Maybe
just
I
feel
wouldn't
like
give them any money. I would not give them money. One,
no.
because their food is terrible and and then you don't need a souvenir from there. But I'd go and take a few
No.
photos.
Yeah, I guess so. It's amazing that still exists.
It's like I was in Hokkaido a few years ago. This was a company trip, and we went to a soup curry place. And I came out and I took a picture. If you want, I'll send it to you. But I will only DM this to people because I'm like, oh my God, that's offensive. It's just like this
Yeah, I don't
blackface
know.
statue, like Holden
Mm-mm.
Curry.
Yeah,
And see, in
no.
Japan, they just don't know. They don't get it because it's Japan. So
Well, I mean, it means something different because of our
I don't think it means,
countries,
see,
our
they think it's
specific
just something
country's
old
history,
and weird, right? They're just like, this is
right?
old, weird stuff. But it's like,
And
that's
I've
old,
met some
weird
white
stuff we
people here
don't
that
do
think that.
anymore.
Yeah, and you can't possibly know. It
Like I've been
just
watching
would
the TED TV show and they keep telling Scott Grimes' character things that he's saying, you know? You can't say that because he's the
yeah, no.
Boston
I
dad or
met a kid,
whatever.
a very sheltered kid who was interested in filmmaking. I shouldn't say kid, guy. He was probably like 2021.
Hmm.
We were like, no, man.
Well, I woke up this morning with a Tribe Called Quest song that I can't say the title of, so it's
Okay.
all
Ah,
Midnight Marauder, so that helps you.
right, right. I know exactly the one you're talking about.
Awesome bass line.
Hmm. Hmm.
Anyway, where were we going with this? Let's
Well, we
get
were talking about the I told that story about the wax museum,
right.
but
So this guy
we
wants to
were
move into his basement.
see that's horrifying. I mean, the thing is when you watch the new exhibit, it is a great story. The acting is great. It's a great horror tale. But if you think about it like logically, how does he have a wife? Like, you know what I mean? Because he's not like secretly doing any of this stuff. Everybody knows he's obsessed with these murderer wax figures and he wants them in his basement and he's rearranging the what does he do? He buys a industrial sized air conditioners to keep them from melting. And his like
Don't take
wife's like,
this the wrong way, but I could see your dad doing all of this in the 80s.
no, no, my dad before, he um was about 6 years old as far as maturity is concerned. Um, his sense of humor as well. Terrible with money, and he did not know anything about doing something half-ass or three-quarter ass. It was put your foot in it with everything that he did. I think it wasn't just put your foot in it. It was up to the knee,
And
maybe
for
up to the
people that need to
hip.
understand, in your basement was
Yes,
a what was it like 1 by 3 meter elaborately decorated train set.
bananas. I don't know
So
where he got the money to do that. I don't, I just he was obsessed with it. I mean, I am obsessed with some things. My kid is obsessed with some things. It's staying in the family, but we aren't. we know none of us will go full bore like he did. So no, when he would have loved to have those in our basement. Exactly what he set
No,
up
just
at
as you're
Sinesco.
explaining like everything he did, I was like, that sounds
Yeah,
familiar.
yeah, no, I get this. Like I really do. And I would have been the little kid who was horrified of it, and he'd be like, "No, come in and check it out." Thank goodness Sinescu has no children.
And I could see your mom coming down telling him, I hate those murderers.
Yes,
As Emma says,
absolutely.
that's the quote I wrote. I've been asked to give quotes more and more in my Space 1999 podcast. So I'm trying to when I get that quote that comes to mind. That's one for this one that I liked. I hate
No,
those murderers.
there's all uh no lies detected.
Remember, Martin's fully into his job. Nothing the matter with him. Okay, and then we get to the wax murders, uh, which that is, I guess that's the twist here that he is having his what psychotic break and I guess going into a divergent personality and whacking people that don't like his murders.
What do you think that he was the one then?
Well, that is kind of, I mean, they leave it very nice and ambiguous. I guess this is an episode where I should go ahead and read the closing narration.
Yeah, because we can't really continue. Like what we just said is not going to make any sense.
The new exhibit became very popular at Marchand's, but of all the figures, none was ever regarded with more dread than that of Martin Lombard Sinescu. It was something about the eyes, people said. It's a look that one often gets after taking a quick walk through the Twilight Zone. Um, More dread. I think they're dreading him. They think well, they think he's the murderer. Okay, so
We're
do you
just
want to
going to
go
say,
with
for argument's sake, that yeah, because the way that the when I say the unreliable narrator thing, it's because he and I said this before, Sinescu already is bananas. Like he just is, and no one around him is like, dude, get out of here. Like we would commit this guy. Nobody would say, "Oh, you want to take these wax murderers home with you? Cool." And then he's obsessing over them. Like, what does he do? Like he's cleaning them and polishing them every day, and his wife goes, "You pay more attention to those wax murders than you do to me, man." And they're
No, it's
right.
it's like the Shining debate, like Stephen King doesn't like the movie because like no, he's a nice guy that is driven insane by this place and alcoholism or whatever. Whereas in the Kubrick one, it's like, nah, he's crazy from the start. This place is
Well, you
just
put
setting off
Jack
what's already
Nicholson
there.
as
Yeah.
if you cast him as a nice, sane man, no way.
I mean,
He's crazy from the
yeah,
jump.
exactly. I'm very firmly on the Kubrick part. I mean, I'm gonna do a podcast for that before too long. And I think Luke said he's reading the book. I think I'm gonna read the book too because I have, but it was like 1990 something, so I should
It's
probably do that
considered
again.
one of the scariest Stephen King books.
Okay,
Um,
sure.
it's one of just from among because I wasn't reading Stephen King. I was the little Clive Barker nerd,
The big
and
Clive Barker nerd. A Magica is what? How many pages?
yeah, I used to carry it around with me. That was like my Harry Potter or whatever. Um, but uh, people that are into true crime would probably know all these wax figures are supposed to be real life. I mean, they're based on real life killers.
Right.
And so
Actually, are we 100% on that? I'm not saying you're wrong at all. I'm just like literally like,
they're
are
too
these
specific not to
okay? Yeah,
be.
okay, they are okay. I don't know.
I
I
mean,
guess after Jack the Ripper, the first person I think of is H. Holmes, right? Who is not here. So
oh no.
maybe that's
I
just the modern perspective because we had the was it Eric Lawson book or whatever 10 years ago, the White City, whatever the did you know what book I'm talking
Yes.
about? Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah, I
I'm
do.
muddling. I read it. I just can't recall the title off the
Speaking
top
of
of my
White
head.
City, I think that the obsession with true crime is mostly like a white people thing, and but also like maybe white women. Um, but I never understood
Well, I
the
guess it's the
the
same
appeal
thing
of
as vampire love, right? They let
yeah,
Bela Lugosi describe that to you, or Martin
yeah.
Landau as Bela Lugosi and Ed Wood.
But no, Albert W. Hicks. I think that might have been like in the Old West or something.
That yeah, I got a picture of an old timey West
And
guy
then
when
this
I
other
brought
guy,
up that name.
obviously a French killer. And then Burke and Hare. There's been like several movies based on them.
Okay. I don't William Burke, that sounds like a poet. The Burke and Hare murders. Okay, they were buddies.
Yeah, those
Okay.
last two.
Yeah, this is not stuff I know.
Actually, I didn't know that they both had the same first name.
Oh, one of the last people executed for piracy in the United States. Okay, that's kind of fun.
Was that this
Oh, is
Albert
that Gangs of New
Hitchcock?
York then? Okay. Or not.
Mhm.
I don't know. Okay. That's
Mm,
one that's like a hole in my Scorsese having seen
I
ography.
don't think he's portrayed in that movie.
Okay. No, that's just that yeah. Again, haven't seen it, don't know.
It's good, man.
That early 2000s Scorsese. I don't think I've seen the 80 Aviator either. So I'm back on board with like, Shutter Island, Hugo. Although I still haven't seen Flowers of the New Moon or whatever it's called because it played in the theaters for 1 week and I missed it. So
Um, I didn't like it that much. Did you see Bringing Out the Dead?
when it was new.
Okay, that's a good one.
Well, yeah,
Um,
yeah, you got like half Crazy Cage in a Scorsese movie, which is,
mhm. No, that's an
but
awesome
you really,
film.
but still not as good as full Crazy Cage in a Herzog movie. But just
That
just putting that, just
even
making
for
sure we
him,
could get the meter here out for that.
yeah, even for him, he was in rare form in that one. Like when he's shouting at that old lady,
Yeah,
like
I just
that's
that's the scene you just play on YouTube sometimes, right?
yeah, yeah. I'm like, oh, you thought Cage was going bananas in that?
And I
Let me
put
just
I put it on. It's such a quick escalation because I put it on for people sometimes to try to get them to watch that
right.
movie. And, oh, you're not gonna believe how crazy he is. He's actually like really restrained for the first 80%, and then
Mhm.
just like,
But that's why I think it's. I mean, I don't even know if I can fairly judge that on any scale anymore. Um, but yes, speaking of crazy, those are the murderers,
How about
and
if you
so
remade this with Nick Cage? That would work pretty. He could take the Bossum role.
yeah, yeah, I would cast him in anything. Um, he so his wife gets the idea. She's like, okay, well, if doesn't get these things out of here, I'm just gonna like cut the AC off, and these things are gonna melt.
Brother has the idea. She
Oh,
has to do
was
it.
it his? Okay, her
That's
brother.
why he also is on the death list, right?
Okay, well, anyway, so it depicts the figures murdering these people, but what we find out in the end is that it was actually Sinescu that did those murders because he becomes a wax figure.
Right.
They make a wax figure of him because they are being sold, and that's why his boss comes back like, "Hey, good news, man! I sold all these, so let's box them up." And somebody gets boxed up, but
The
it's
notice Martin is definitely not all right. Should we really?
yeah, yeah,
Got to keep your figures. I mean, the toy collector. Hey, I don't want someone taking my Godzilla here.
right on.
You
True.
know, Rose, you're gonna take Rose. Rose stays here. Rose belongs here.
Hey, I have Rose also. I didn't
Yeah,
take
yeah.
her out of the box though.
No,
Um,
I'm gonna take the toy out of the box guy. Yeah,
I
it
think it
has to
was
come out of the
just the
box.
one. I bought it mostly because of everybody being so racist toward um uh because of that character. I think I
Right,
just
right.
bought it. Kelly Marie Tran.
Yes. Um,
Um,
but anyway, the only one I never this one's in my parents' house, but I had a Voyager. It was Captain Janeway, but the box was labeled 7 and 9, so that was kind of fun.
ooh,
Or
yeah,
something like that. Yeah. I don't know if that was exactly the character swap, but it was like Janeway was in the box, but it said it was somebody else. Well, I'd leave that in the box, obviously.
yeah. I
So
know you kind of have to. Yeah, I get it.
yeah. But otherwise it's like out of the box, yeah.
Um, but uh, so that but that's the end. So when we go in, this will be interesting when we talk about who we feel like went to the Twilight Zone. I don't know how close we are to that point, but when we get there, I feel like there's a pretty firm in the closing narration, a pretty firm answer to that question.
Yeah, sure. What I did want to put out one more observation when he is burying the old lady in the basement. Um,
Yeah.
so I actually went back recently. I was just like I went back and listened to the first episode of this podcast we did last week because I haven't listened to any of the old ones for any long time. It's like I wonder how the podcast has changed. Uh, One, we did not do the questions when we did Where Is Everybody? There were no questions yet. I thought that was interesting.
Huh.
They're there by the second episode. I don't remember if we did them for a time element either, but they're there by the next episode. But yeah, maybe we should go back and do the questions sometime for that. I don't feel like doing
Well,
that now though.
I
But
would say that those questions have impacted my viewing now of like this past New Year's,
mm.
right? When I'm watching them, I do think about who went to the Twilight Zone now when I watch them. That's nothing that was in my mind prior to this show.
Anyway, in that episode, I also talked about I kind of got re-obsessed with the Twilight Zone on my vacation when there was a big weird hole in the living room with a few shovels sticking out, and I was like, that kind of looks like this scene.
You
Like I was
can't
like,
do
yeah,
this is
Sinesky would
a
have a seat
super
and start watching a few Twilight Zone episodes next to that hole. Oh, there was no
yeah.
dead body in my hole, so I don't think
I
there
would
was a dead body.
I I think that this is when people talk about doing a deep dive, when we talk about obsession, this is a very deep dive what you're doing.
Yeah,
I
I guess
mean,
we're reverse engineering that question, so we should go ahead and do it and say that,
okay, yeah,
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
are.
Sinescu, Martin Lombard, Sinescu clearly goes through the Twilight Zone because Rod says it at the end, right? So
Well,
I guess the question would be anyone else. I guess it gets back to the is the Twilight Zone death question.
well, no. Um, the show has showed you what the Twilight Zone looks like. Remember? There was
Right.
there
The
was
little
that
girl
one with
got
the
lost
kid.
in there, yes.
Yeah. And so by that measure, they lived. They popped right out of it, right?
You're going with the thing. This is all a weird meta universe, and they just pop back into normal life
They
after
can.
they're dead.
We saw them do it.
Mm.
And so no, but Sinescu can't come back. This is a type of death for him because his penance for murder, um, going by the justice system of the show, um, obviously those murders aren't inside of their wax figures, but Sinescu, just the William Castle-esque assertion that he's in there.
So you weren't
Is
happy when the wax figures were kind of attacking him at the end.
hell no. Well, actually, you know what? I was past that point. I didn't like them immediately when he's, because he's on the tour and he's like obsessively over, look at the eyes. I'm like, how about no, man? How about we don't? But that
Well,
gets,
I my note is, and the murderer Rose guy isn't a showman at all. He's a potential cult leader.
hmm like I was saying, Red Flag City. I mean, look at the way he responded to his boss when his boss is like, you know what, man, we're gonna have to, they're gonna tear this place down because there's gonna be a shopping mall or what it was, a grocery store. And he's like immediately, wait, how about I buy it? What are we gonna do with the murderers? He's really only concerned about the murderers. He's obsessed with the figures of these murderers.
Okay, anyway, we'll leave the second question just to Sinescu then. Does he deserve his trip into the Twilight Zone?
Well, clearly it was his. I mean, he did murder people. They're saying at the end he murdered his wife, her brother, and his boss. Was that everybody?
Yeah, three people. Now, could we say he manslaughtered people if he is actually having like a divergent personality or something? I mean, but
Hmm.
he's already pretty like weird and unlikable. I mean, before that anyway, so
I
you
was
still
gonna
kind of
say,
like he deserves it, but
as one of the hour-long episodes, if the writers were going to have any sort of like, uh, I don't know, like progressive thing going on with him mentally, he wouldn't have shot right out of the gate as being as crazy as he was. I mean, he begins obsessing over, you know what I mean? It's clear.
I will say though, when we did He's Alive, part of what we were talking about was that Rod Serling did want to extend that to film length, which I guess that makes sense. He had Dennis Hopper, being the American Nazi guy. But we were like, I don't really see how that's going to work so well in this. I don't think you could stretch this one out more. This one, I am like, yeah, 10 minutes plus. It's an exploitation proto slasher movie.
Well, and also because he's alive puts the cards on the table pretty early,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
Whereas this,
accidentally, just like, yeah, that's Hitler. Of course, that's Hitler. Whereas, they
you
try
only
and
get
make it seem like a late stage, flip, but you're like, nobody is like having any,
okay,
ambiguity at this point. So they don't,
right.
they do tell you late, but it's really clear from the start.
I think that's kind of what I meant. With this, I agree with you. Um, it, I would guess what would you want to see more of, if it was turned into feature length? You say 10 minutes?
I guess he could kill the gas guy.
There you go. If there was a murder for every wax figure that's a murderer, you mean? Kind of like that?
Oh, there we go. Two more murders there. Well, no, yeah, 5 against 1. So two more murders, 10 more minutes. You could
Yeah, give
this
everybody
one.
a chance.
Yeah,
Or
this.
well, Burke and Hare would probably work together. So four.
Okay, so the gas guy. There we go.
Yeah.
Solved. But let's tripometer it. 0 to 5, 5 super trippy, 0 not so trippy.
Mm. Man, I would go lower, except I feel like this is a 3-ish. Do I want to go 3.5? I'm not sure. Mm. I'm gonna stick with the 3 because you have supernatural imagery here, even though it's not really what's happening. Um, it's the Twilight Zone, so anything could happen. And so in the moment at least, I'm thinking these things came alive, you know. So I
Hmm.
would say it's a 3. I almost want to give 3.25.
Okay.
I don't
I
know.
actually started lower. When we came at the beginning before we started the show, I was sitting here kind of thinking a 2. Now that we've been talking about it and just how weird that ending is, I'll go 2.5. So I'm
Okay,
just a
yeah. So
tick
all right, that
under
works
your
then.
3. Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
So
yeah.
I mean, not that these numbers are definitive, and I might tell you something different if we did it tomorrow, but that's part of the fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I just think, yeah, if they hadn't made you think for such an amount of time in the episode that these things were alive and killing people, I might have gone lower. But there's a period of time where they're clearly like trying to mess with the audience and make them think they might be alive. And by season 4, you've seen enough Twilight Zone episodes to go like, okay, they're alive.
So I'm curious, what weird tourist trap would you like to visit in 2024? Obviously, south of the border is not the one you want to visit, but
No. Uh,
what
one
weird
that
one
I
is
have
on your radar?
one that I have not been to, and I don't know why. I think it's just because I'm always like trying to get somewhere else, and I'm just sort of focused on that. Goats on the roof.
Okay, that needs more of an explanation.
There is a there's a place, and I can't tell you. It is somewhere in North Carolina. But it's called Goats on the Roof, and it's a building, and they have goats
On the roof?
that hang out on the roof.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't go to it, but I walked past a goat cafe in Okinawa a few months ago. Um,
Okay.
you just sit around and there were you'd have your tea or your coffee and there are just a bunch of goats there, which was weird. So maybe that would appeal to you too. I don't know.
Well, it's more of the goats, like why the roof? I mean, I think that's that's my thing, is why the roof. But there is another, and this one's on the way to Florida, and I remembered it when I passed through this last time. Um, the signs for it are like "We bear all," "Bottomless."
Oh yeah, I know the signs.
You know what I'm talking about? And they've been there forever.
Yes, they have. I remember being
And
like 12 and being like, "What?"
okay, well, I'm just like, okay, obviously this place has existed forever and there's no problem. But I feel this way about, you mentioned Gatlinburg
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
I feel like there were a lot of those tourist traps where it really was a trap, and what there was all this fanfare leading up to it, and the actual thing kind of sucked. They build up this, I'm assuming a strip club, um, with these massive banners. And they are definitely like over, overselling the fact that they've got no underwear on, I guess.
Mm.
Pants, if you're British, they have no pants on.
Yeah, yeah. I have to be careful in Japan using the word pants because they
Right.
use the British meaning. They think it's
Oh,
British
okay.
meaning.
So yeah. Okay.
So
So
I'll say slacks, but then they don't know what I'm saying. So I still haven't worked that one out.
pants then.
Hmm.
But with the United States, they say bottomless. We assume that they're just like completely porky pigging it, or
Hmm.
Winnie the Poohing it, or whatever you call it. There's nothing down there. And so I don't know, as a grown up, just a little curious if th- that's all there is to it. Um, or if there's something, because there's got to be something, you know what I mean? It can't have gone on for so long without there being something to it. So
Okay. And then I'm asking
without,
because I was listening last week, the podcast The Ride, one of the guys had just gone to Casa Bonita, right, and was explaining that. And then I went and was just started I got obsessed watching, YouTube videos about the real one, and
Mhm.
it's currently in a pretty pristine state. I don't know how familiar you are with the place.
Yeah, but that's actually kind of like surprising. Now I'm wondering what state this
Well, it opened in
other place.
1973,
Yeah.
was what pretty much what you the South Park episode showed you in the 70s and 80s, kind of declined a little bit for the 90s, closed during the pandemic, at which point Matt Parker and Trey Parker and Matt Stone came in, bought the place, spent 40 million bucks renovating the place, or
No
paying
kidding.
everyone there 30 bucks an hour to work there. And
Wow.
it's just like, so, but it looks like it's like freaking amazing now. And
Huh.
with all of the voices like on the PA and stuff is Trey Parker. Like, come see the
That's
puppet
great.
show.
That's
And
great.
the food is just okay at best. But better. Before I think Denver people were like, "Oh, that don't go there, you'll get food poisoning," which is you will no longer get food poisoning. It sounds like so that's good.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
you're not there for the food.
I was gonna say that was the thing with Hooters. It supposedly had these amazing wings. And obviously this is a place families can go, so it's not quite the same. But I'm just thinking like, who cares? Who cares if the wings are, but then medieval times, um outstanding food at medieval times.
Really? I've never been to one of
Yeah,
those. I guess the
yeah.
weirdest restaurant I've been to is a well, izakaya, so it's like a Japanese pub, and it was a bootleg Star Wars themed.
Oh,
So
right.
yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure I've shown you pictures of that before.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, by the way, I also
Ooh.
sent you the Goat Cafe photo. It's in your Facebook.
Oh, let's take a
It's
look.
basically a pyramid of goats, which is just bizarre.
Oh, I can't wait. Hold on. I have to do this
Sorry,
live.
not great for audio podcasting, but what can you do?
Right, but for those of you listening at home, this is kind of beautiful. It's very artistic. It looks like an installation, to be quite honest.
Those are real goats.
Yeah, well, I assume. But these are some nice pastel colored blocks that they live amongst.
Yes, a pyramid of blocks. So
But they're all multicolored. Yeah,
if I
this is
remember,
kind of
I'll
pretty.
maybe put in the Twitter, which I autoed the Twitter for everything, but still says
Yeah.
Twitter on my phone. I'm going to keep calling it that.
Oh, me too. Most people do,
I
even
changed
the
phones and
Twitter
I
crowd.
still got to keep my unupdated Twitter, which is nice.
Yeah,
It
no, I
didn't
wish that
change
I
to
had done
X.
that.
I guess we'll dial this one down for the day. It is mid-July. What up?
Okay, so hi, my name is Andrew Shearer. Thank you as always for having me on. It was a pleasure. I love doing this show. Um, my friends and I here in Athens, Georgia, we call ourselves Gonzoriffic, Gonzoriffic. And you can find us on all the social things and YouTube and all of this and whatnot. But we make movies together. That's our thing. Kind of like a band, but instead of making music, we make movies. And so right now we have a mixtape out called Zombikini, Zombikini. And this has a few different of our movies on it, including Amityville Horrors, Paranormal Activity, Die Liner, Holy Foley, just a bunch of things. They're all really fun midnight movie type stuff. And if you're more into reading, you can get my book, Everybodies, Everybodies. That's a book of interviews I did, photography as well. That's available on Amazon.
And it's under a pile of stuff, I guess.
Oh,
It looks
whoops.
like you're looking for it. Oh, there we go.
There it
Okay.
is. There it
I thought
is.
maybe you had it like too deep in the pile.
Yeah, no, last year I wrote a book and it published in January. And it's interesting. It's got its own like completely separate sort of fan base. Um, I'm happy about. But yeah, the Zombie Kini mixtape DVD, mixed DVD is available at gonzoriffic.com. And we have a video out that shows if you don't have a DVD player, you're not into physical media, it gives you kind of some ideas about what you can do with your Zombie Kini DVD, even if you don't have a DVD player, ways to enjoy it. Look for that.
As for us, we do podcasts. It's on Patreon at Podcastio Podcastius. You'll hear 30 minutes of Andrew and I doing like gear talk, if anyone can stand that for this episode, for example, if you do the Patreon.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Podcast 1999, we talk about Space 1999, Films and Filth. We talk about really good movies and really bad movies according to IMDb users. Andrew is only there for the bad ones, the quote
No,
unquote bad ones. Sorry, let's not paint a broad brush on
well,
that.
it's just when you gave me that list, I was like, I own so many of these in my home library.
Did I have a fun time watching Jaws 3D a few nights ago? Sure.
Yeah, it's no Jaws 4, but a few
Yeah,
movies are.
we'll get to that too. It's supposed to be the worst one, according to the list. There's also some video game stuff. Luke loves Pokemon. You can still listen to Hyrule Field Report if you're playing Tears of the Kingdom or want to relive your playthrough of that. And the Game Show with gamers gaming each other on games. Um, so last question. What weird thing are you going to put in your basement that no one can understand? This guy has 5 mass murder statues. My basement, I guess I'll with let's not think about the guy that built it, but I would like to put a Rockafire explosion down there myself. What's going in your basement? I don't have a
Okay,
basement
I
though.
don't want to come see the Rock of Fire explosion. Like that's that's enough. Um, I might, I'm kind of in there. I have a finished basement. I
Yeah,
can
you
just
can put
show you
something in your
some of the
basement.
weird stuff that's already in here. An inside out Sasquatch mask?
Okay, but it doesn't have to be inside out, does it? Or is it made to be
No,
inside out?
it's
No,
just the
it's
last time
just
I wear the
inside out.
costume, I'm sort of airing out the
Okay,
mask.
gotcha. Okay. I was just making sure that wasn't actually like supposed to be like permanent. Like it's like here's the innards of Sasquatch with some hair around the
No,
edges.
I just left it like that because I love how bizarre it looks. But no, I was invited to an Oscar gala, and I went dressed as Sasquatch.
Oh, okay. So it did get sweaty in a party.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
I'm just gonna cut it there. Why not? Doesn't have to be a
That was
witty one-liner or an
no,
unwitty one-liner as it
I think
usually is.
that sells itself. That last bit about the
Yeah.
you're talking about the sweaty Sasquatch mask. That's it, you don't need to be witty when that's your subject of conversation.
That's a new exhibit. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't have anything bizarre enough to grab around me anyway. So
Oh God, that's not even the only one.
I don't know what that is.
I've got okay. This is padding that we put there. It's a pair of shorts.
Adding some
Um,
donk adders.
yeah, they've
Okay.
got butt padding.
When
So
you
yeah,
perform Spinal Tap's Big Bottom, you can wear that.
yeah. Someone gave me these, a set of Muppet Pez that
Ooh.
they found in the thrift store. There's no Kermit, but I do have a Kermit, so um, I got a
You
bag of
get
Mexican
you
candy.
get
It's mostly like spicy. I have a fake chainsaw signed by Fred Olin Ray, director of Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. Um, yeah, uh, a skeleton wearing sunglasses with a rubber chicken sticking out of its crotch. It's just, it's the way one man who's pushing 50 years old would decorate his home.
Right, right. No, no, sometimes I'm like, oh, why don't I travel as much as other people or this stuff? I'm like, oh, because you bought a bunch of guitars, that's why.
Yeah, isn't that, it's funny. Like I guess I spend a lot of time out just because I have a fairly active social life. A lot of it's due to my job. And as a result of it, I get invited to more things and I just know more people. But yeah, if I stayed home more, I'd probably be more productive.
I
music
walk
anymore.
around a lot, but that's not social, is it?
It's healthy though. It's
No, no, it
healthy.
is healthier. That's true. That's why I listen to podcasts. I never listen to a podcast in the house or even in the car, just walking.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, I don't do my show anymore, but 600 episodes over that many years. People would tell me, "Oh, I listen to podcasts only when I cut the grass, or only when I do laundry, or whatever."
Right, right.
I can't listen in the car. I'd lose my. I don't know.
I pretty much walk 10 or 12 miles every day, so that there's a lot of podcast listening too.
Right? That would be. Yeah.
Um, okay, let's see. So I will probably ask for your season 5 request pretty soon. As far
Mhm.
as this podcast, there are 5 more to record after this. Since I accidentally ended up doing too many podcasts, I'm going to put a month break between seasons, pretty much probably from here on out.
Yeah, good idea.
So the plan is month and then month break, do season 5, month break, do the Peel stuff, and then
Mhm.
after that I not 100. I think I'm gonna do the movies too, by the way. So
Oh, that's
maybe
cool. Okay.
there's he's only got 4 right now, and they're all very Twilight Zone. I haven't watched them. I for the past since I started this podcast, I knew I was gonna do it and probably do the movies. So I was like, I think I will just wait to watch these movies. So I've seen none of them at this point.
Man, let me tell you,
So they'll be first views for me. What was it? Get Out, Us, Nope,
Get
and
Out,
there's one
Us, and
more.
Nope.
3. Okay.
Yeah, because his fourth one, I think they just announced like a release date for it, and it's not this year. It's like maybe even early 2026 now.
Okay. I mean, I can always come back and do one if it seems like a thing, you know. But yeah, that's my plan. Well, as since you've seen it, does it make more sense to do the movies than the series, or do the series than the movies?
Oh, you talking about the Twilight Zone?
Because I'm doing that's the plan. Do is Twilight Zone, but also do the movies because from what I understand, they're Twilight Zoney enough.
No, absolutely they are. Yes, completely. Um, I mean, if you wanted to, there was no second season, I don't think, of his Twilight
Oh, there
Zone, or
was
maybe
two, but
there
they're
was
both
two.
10 episode seasons.
I'd
Doing in
see.
between.
I would say, I mean, if being chronological doesn't matter to you, Nope came out after he'd finished his Twilight Zone run, but Get Out and Us were prior to.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know if that's going to make a difference, but
I
I'd
guess.
say I'd put I'd let the series take precedent, especially because some of them are remakes
Mm-mm-mm.
of classic episodes.
Right, right. And I've seen about 5 of his, and then I stopped watching him simply because, again, going to do it for the podcast, right?
Right, gotcha. Okay.
So,
Yeah, I would say
otherwise, I would have finished them a long time ago.
I would I would want that. I would say put that before doing the
Okay,
movie because the
I will
movies are
take your
just
advice on that then.
you know the movies are just like if you love the Twilight Zone, obviously you're gonna love those movies. Um, but I don't think if it's branching off from the Twilight Zone as from this
Yes, and
uh
that's currently my
classic
only
series.
excuse for having not watched them. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you were gonna, yeah. Oh, they were great. I mean, they were super controversial because a lot of racist people do not like Jordan Peele.
Yeah, no. Actually, if you know a few people that might want to do a few of those, like around Athens or something, because yeah,
Hmm. Let me think because I too.
I
Ah,
could do a two-hander episode, two guests or whatever. But anyway, that's a thought too, because I it's especially from where I am, living in Japan here. Sometimes I try to get some diversity in the podcast guests and stuff, but it's could be a little tricky sometimes.
yeah. In terms of diversity, I know a lot of like horror movie fans, like straight up and down.
Yeah, especially for the movies then, and there might be a few people that want to do the zone. So, um,
Twilight Zone. I feel like I know at least one, maybe two people. They're just not people I see all the time.
mm, mm, mm.
But
Anyway, that. This is probably next year stuff because I season 5 is how many episodes? There's a lot in season 5. It's like 26, 30 maybe.
it was way more than I mean, because they're back to the normal
Yeah, yeah, way
series.
more in this. So, It is a it's a 36. It's going to be a yeah,
Woo!
I should stop talking about the Peel stuff. That's going to be 2026 and we probably will do this new movie.
Yeah, I was gonna
It's
say
going to
that
take
might
it's
be,
going to take a good year to do season 5. Well, 36, so it's take most of a year. So maybe
and
late 25,
I think if you're doing the Peel movies closer to when his new one will be released,
That
I
would
feel like
be good for
it would make
listenership as well.
sense. Yeah.
So actually, it looks like it might time out really well if I do the month, then do the season 5, take another month, and then it might. So if the movie's coming out like right then, I'll do the movies first. But otherwise,
I
I'll
feel like
probably take your
just this
advice.
week they changed the date of it to 2026. So
It might time out like really well. We'll see.
yeah.
Because that's always nice serendipity when that kind of thing happens.
Well, I mean,
Um,
I work in news media, and so it's all about when you do stuff.
right. Okay, I will hit the stop for recording.